Hello and welcome to my next class, which is Genetic Parameters Part 2. As you all remember, my first lecture was on Genetic Parameters Part 1 and it was on heritability. Now today we will be dealing about the calculation of heritability by different methods. Heritability is basically estimated by two methods, regression method and correlation method. This regression method is further divided into two types: regression of offspring on one parent, regression of offspring on mid parent. And correlation method is also of two types: half SIB analysis and full SIB analysis. So in nutshell, you have four methods for estimation of heritability: two of regression and two by correlation methods. Heritability, as you all must be remembering from the first lecture, is very important genetic parameter which deals about the extent of genetic variance sigma square G upon sigma square P in broad sense and sigma square A upon sigma square P in narrow sense. Unfortunately, I will not be able to devote more time again on heritability. It's been dealt totally in the last lecture. You all can see it. It's still uploaded there. Now coming back to this estimation of heritability. Before that, if I say that there are two methods of heritability, first by regression and second by correlation, regression of two types and correlation of two types, that is a total of two regression methods and two correlation methods. I just want to give you all a small reminder, or just want to take you all back to the biostatistics lecture where we had discussed, not online but offline, in classroom course, regression and correlation. So friends, for all those who do not remember it or are forgetting it for the time being, regression is the change in dependent variable per unit change in independent variable. So suppose we say that there are two variables. Say suppose there are two variables, like if the distance covered by any vehicle is varying proportionately with respect to the speed. It means distance and speed are having a particular regression coefficient. This regression is the change in dependent variable per unit change in independent variable. And while correlation is the extent of association between two linear variables. So any two linear variables, if you take the fat percentage and milk yield, we all know that total fat percentage and total milk yield are positively correlated. It means that if the total milk yield will increase in any animal, the total fat content is bound to increase. So it is showing a positive correlation. Similarly, but on the same similar aspect, that fat content, fat percentage and milk yield are negatively proportional or negatively correlated to each other, because more the yield, generally the fat percentage decreases, or the thinner the milk, so the correlation is negative in nature. Now actually, if we do its postmortem, like is milk proportional to fat or fat is dependent on milk, then we know that more will be the milk yield, more will be the fat percentage. So in a way, fat percentage is dependent on milk yield, and so fat percentage and milk yield, when taken as regression coefficient, will show some value. So for example, BXY, this notation is very important. So if we say, if for any correlation coefficient, we will be having two regression coefficients. That is, say suppose if there is a regression coefficient R, it is the linear association between two variables x and y. And if we want to know which variable is dependent on other one, यानी कि अगर हम ये जानना चाहते हैं कि दो वेरिएबल्स x और y में जितना लीनियर एसोसिएशन है, उसमें से x y पे कितना डिपेंडेंट है और y x पे कितना डिपेंडेंट है, और उसको हम अलग अलग करते हैं bxy और byx के रूप में, इसका मतलब हम लोग रिग्रेशन कोफिशिएंट निकाल रहे हैं. और अगर हम लोग उसको एक साथ रख के बस x और y के बीच में एक्सटेंट ऑफ एसोसिएशन या रिलेशन निकाले, इसका मतलब r, यानी हम लोग कोरिलेशन निकाल रहे हैं. एज यू कैन सी, the formula for regression coefficient for the two regression coefficients are given bxy. Here you see x will be the dependent variable and y will be the independent variable. मैं स्टूडेंट्स को इस तरह से याद करने के लिए बताती हूँ कि y जो है वो विक्रम है, उसके सर पे x जो है बेताल बैठा हुआ है. विक्रम जैसे जैसे मूव करेगा y वैसे वैसे मूव करेगा. सो y जो है वो इंडिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल है, वो डिपेंडेंट नहीं है. x डिपेंडेंट है y के ऊपर, बेताल डिपेंडेंट है विक्रम के ऊपर. Similarly in byx, x is the Vikram and y is the Betal. So y is the dependent variable and x is the independent variable. So you have two regression coefficients. एंड वाइल इन केस ऑफ कोरिलेशन कोफिशिएंट, क्योंकि ये नहीं बता रहा है कि एक्स वाई पे कितना डिपेंडेंट है या वाई एक्स पे कितना डिपेंडेंट है. In nutshell, it is just telling to you the extent of relationship between x and y, two linear variables. So correlation is just one, and rxy is equal to ryx. They have no meaning. This subscript. That's why it is simply written as r. As you can see, the regression formula for regression is summation xy minus summation x into summation y upon l whole upon summation
8757
summation y square minus summation y का square upon n. Similarly, byx is equal to summation xy minus summation x into summation y upon n whole upon summation x square minus summation x का square upon n. So you see, this is regression and this is correlation. So two methods of estimation of heritability by regression and two methods of estimation of heritability by correlation. Hope I have been able to do the dusting over the memory, means the down the memory lane which you had forgotten a bit of correlation regression. Hope I have been able to remind you of that concept a bit by this effort of mine. Now coming to the numerical through which I will try to explain the two methods. First of all, the regression method, that is regression of offspring on one parent and regression of offspring on mid parent. That is, how do you calculate the regression heritability by the regression method. First we take the regression method. See the question, what will be the, I think it will be better if I make it full screen, right? I just realize it that it will, yeah, what will be the heritability of a trait if whole of the phenotypic variability is genetic in nature? If the genetic variance is half of the total phenotypic variance, if whole of the phenotypic variability is environmental in nature, and if half of the phenotypic variability is due to genetic effect. So let's see, do we need to apply the regression correlation or it can be calculated simply. Moving on to the next one. First question, you see, if whole of the phenotypic variability is genetic in nature. As you remember from the last class, if whole of the phenotypic variance is genotypic nature, it means that sigma square g is equal to sigma square p. And you know the formula of heritability h square is sigma square g upon sigma square p. But because sigma square g and p are equal, you will have heritability as 1. Now the second question is, if the genetic variance is half of the total phenotypic variance. It says that if half of the total phenotypic variance is genotypic in nature, means that if sigma square g is half of sigma square p, right? So h square will be equal to sigma square g upon sigma square p. Substituting it, we will have half into sigma square p upon sigma square p, which is equal to 0.5. Now third one, if whole of the phenotypic variability is environmental in nature, which means that sigma square p is equal to sigma square e, which means that sigma square g will be 0. So heritability will be equal to 0. For all of you who are having a bit of problem in understanding, I will take a bit of your time and then explain to you all once again, because any concept, if not understood fully, has no meaning. So the first question, as you can see, was, the first question was, if whole of the phenotypic variability is genetic in nature. By taking this first question, you know, h square, if we denote it as heritability is equal to sigma square p upon sigma square g. This, if you are not remembering, it means it's not good, because in the last class also we have discussed it. So before joining me in this lecture, I request you all to kindly go through the basics. Sigma square g upon sigma square p. Okay, this is the formula of heritability. So if you know that half of your first question says you, we will be just substituting if whole of the phenotypic variability is genetic in nature. In the first case, if whole of the phenotypic variance is genotypic in nature, we know that you must be remembering this from the last class itself. that sigma square g plus, it is a bit difficult to put so many notations as is required in genetics. So hope you understand that it has to be read as sigma square g, not sigma 2g. Okay, plus sigma square e, it was already discussed, is equal to sigma square p. What was case 1? Case 1, you have taken that sigma square g and sigma square p are equal. Right? Which means that h square is equal to, if sigma square g and sigma square p are equal, it means this component is 0. Environmental component is 0, which it is, although it is practically not possible, it says that in a condition whereby the difference between in the population is only because of genetic gene or the breeds or any such thing, but no environmental difference, it is under totally homogeneous environmental condition. Under that case, what will be the heritability of a particular trait? The heritability will become sigma square p, substituting this value of above, sigma square g is equal to sigma square p, so it becomes sigma square p upon sigma square p, which will be equal to 1. Now your case 2 was, if half of the total phenotypic, you see I just take it over here, if genetic variance is half of the total phenotypic variance, so if it means that given genetic variance was, in this case, I again take this only, it says that genetic variance was half of the phenotypic variance. That is, so what will be your value of h square, which implies that heritability over here will be equal to, if I am taking a broad sense heritability, I have to stick to it. At least I can do this. Heritability over here will be equal to sigma square g is equal to half of sigma square p. So the formula, this will be reduced to heritability. I substitute this given condition into this formula of heritability and I get it will be equal to half, substituting for, upon simply sigma square p, paste, which will be equal to half, that is equal to 0.5. So heritability will be 0.5. This has another meaning. If sigma square g is half of sigma square p, it means the sigma square e is another half. So it means that they both are contributing damn equally to the variation in the phenotype of any individual. Okay. Now case 3 says that, what is the next question? Case 3, if whole of the phenotypic variability is environmental in nature, it means sigma square p is equal to sigma square. If whole of the phenotypic variance is environmental in nature, means that sigma square p is totally equal to sigma square e. Sigma square g is 0. It means all the animals taken are homozygous for all the alleles at all the loci. Again, very impossible thing practically, yet theoretically, if we take the sigma square g as 0, it is said that if whole of the phenotypic variance is equal to genotypic variance. So this is what it means. Case 3 shows sigma square p is equal to sigma square e, which means that sigma square g is 0. Which again means that heritability is equal to which means heritability is equal to, if sigma square g is equal to 0, 0 upon sigma square p, which is automatically equal to 0. Equal to 0. So here you have the answers to all the 3 questions, and now you know case 1 and case 3 are practically not possible. Case 2 is only practically possible and not always correct. It will depend upon the value of sigma square 2 and sigma square p, e and sigma square g. Now coming back to this was all question. It is actually a repetition of first one. So moving on to the next one. Now our next question, this I have already taken. Given that, this is our next question. I enlarge it a bit from current slide. Given that the total genetic variance for a trait in a herd of dairy cattle is 750 kilograms square, it means that sigma square g is 750 kg square. Environmental variance is 750 kg square. Yani sigma square e is 750 kg square again. And the variance due to dominance and epistasis effects are both 25 kg square and each. Find heritability in narrow sense and broad sense. What type of gene action do you predict for the above trait and the breeding program suitable for it? Fine. So answer, this is the answer. It is given that sigma square g is 750. We have already seen in the question. Sigma square e is 750. Now d is equal to 25 means dominance deviation is 25. Now this e or I, epistatic interaction or interaction deviation, or e, it is equal to 25. And we know that sigma square, why this? So sigma square a, you already remember that sigma square p was equal to sigma square g plus sigma square e. And so again trying to explain it a bit, remember the last. So I request you all, before taking up this lecture of mine, please do see the previous lecture whereby I have discussed that, see, this can further, here only I can break it, broken into sigma square a plus sigma square d plus sigma square I. Well, I need not explain again that this A was due to additive gene effect of gene, and D and I were due to non-additive effect of gene, and they are comparatively smaller. Non-additive effect of gene is very prominent only in trait governed by non-additive gene action, while in case of additive gene action, trait being governed by additive gene action, this is predominant. So we have already discussed in the last lecture that to know what type of gene action or what type of breeding methods or selection should be advocated, heritability, if h small h square and capital H square will differ much, it means that these two components are important, and if they do not differ much, it means that these two components are negligible. We will see how. So sigma square p is equal to this. Up till here you have already known. So by, if sigma square p is equal to, forget this part, if sigma square p is equal to sigma square a plus sigma square d plus sigma square I, it means that sigma square a is equal to sigma square p minus sigma square d plus sigma square I. This is what I have done over here, that sigma square a is equal to sigma square g minus d plus I. So it is equal to, substituting all the values given here, it is equal to 700. Halt, take a pause and study and see it. You will definitely be able to understand it. And sigma square p will be equal to 750 plus 750. How? We know sigma square p is equal to sigma square g plus sigma square e, and these are the values given. It will be 1500. Now, heritability in narrow sense has already been dealt with as equal to sigma square a plus sigma square p. You have found out the value sigma square a as 700, sigma square p as 1500. Substituting both the values, you have 0.467. Similarly, heritability in broad sense is given by the formula sigma square g upon sigma square p. Well, these two formulas were also dealt in the last lecture. So it is equal to 0.5. You see the difference between this small h square and then this capital H square is very negligible. This is 0.467 and 0.5, so much so that if I round it off, I'll definitely get it as this one. Now it means that if this value and this value are very negligibly different, means that this and the sigma square a and sigma square g are not differing much, which means that these two are very less in comparison to this and this, which means that these two are less, which means that the effect of non-additive gene action is very less and trait is under additive gene action. So we will go for intra-population selection. Now coming to the next question, given below is the data for the different type of variances calculated for the two traits, namely egg number and egg weight. Find the broad and narrow sense heritability. Now this is the data, as you can see. Phenotypic variance sigma square p, genetic variance sigma square g, environmental variance sigma square e, additive genetic variance 85, dominance that is D 65, epistat is 65. Similarly for egg weight you also have all the data. You just substitute and try doing it. I'll definitely take the answer to this question also in the next lecture if you are not able to do it. Now just remember, this is sigma square p, this is sigma square g, this is sigma square e. This is sigma square a, this is sigma square d, and this is sigma square I for both egg number and egg weight respectively. So what you will do, first you will find for egg number heritability in narrow sense, then heritability in broad sense, and then for egg weight you will find the heritability in narrow sense and heritability in broad sense. Surprise! For egg number you see sigma square p is this, sigma square, I have just copied the question from here as you can see. And so for egg number heritability h square will be equal to sigma square a upon sigma square p, 80 upon 600. You can solve it now. Now broad sense heritability h square will be given as sigma square g upon sigma square p. I have just substituted in the formula for narrow and broad sense heritabilities respectively. Just turn back the slides. In the previous slides I have already discussed the formula. You see over here sigma square heritability in narrow sense, heritability in broad sense. I have just substituted the values given over here. So this is the question, this is the solution. First try doing it yourself and then you see the answer. You see, as there is huge difference between h square and h square, it is good. I mean significantly good difference. There is difference between h square and h square. It means that D and I are prominently good in magnitude, which means that the effect of non-additive gene action, NAJA means non-additive gene action, is more pronounced. For egg weight, h square is equal to 6.6 upon 12. Small h square is sigma square a upon sigma square p. Heritability in broad sense is equal to sigma square g upon sigma square p, 9 upon 12. As the difference is yet pronounced, in this case also the difference you see between 9 and 6.6 is pretty good compared to this 12. So we can say that D and I are not negligible values in this case also. So because D and R are not negligible, it is under non-additive gene action. I hope my students will not mind if I repeat this thing in Hindi. इस क्वेश्चन में एग नंबर और एग वेट के लिए हेरिटेबिलिटी इन नैरो सेंस एंड हेरिटेबिलिटी इन ब्रॉड सेंस कैलकुलेट करना है. हेरिटेबिलिटी इन नैरो सेंस का फॉर्मूला आपने पिछले स्लाइड्स में ऑलरेडी देख लिया है. इट इज इक्वल टू सिग्मा स्क्वायर ए अपॉन सिग्मा स्क्वायर पी. हेरिटेबिलिटी इन ब्रॉड सेंस का फॉर्मूला है सिग्मा स्क्वायर जी अपॉन सिग्मा स्क्वायर पी. मैं बार बार यही कह रही हूँ, जिनको इसमें कुछ दिक्कत महसूस हो कृपया मेरा पिछला लेक्चर एक बार फिर से देख ले. इसीलिए और अब क्या किया मैंने, बस सिग्मा स्क्वायर ए के बदले 80 सब्सटीट्यूट किया जो वैल्यू हम लोगों को क्वेश्चन में दी हुई थी. सिग्मा स्क्वायर पी के बदले 600 सब्सटीट्यूट किया जो हम लोगों को क्वेश्चन में दी हुई थी. उसी तरह हेरिटेबिलिटी इन ब्रॉड सेंस में मैंने सिग्मा स्क्वायर ए के बदले 200, सिग्मा स्क्वायर जी के बदले 200 सब्सटीट्यूट किया, सिग्मा स्क्वायर पी के बदले 600 सब्सटीट्यूट किया. फिर मैंने बोला कि जैसा हम लोग का क्राइटेरिया होता है ये पता करने का, इस क्वेश्चन का एक पार्ट देखिए ये भी है कि फाइंड द ब्रॉड एंड नैरो सेंस हेरिटेबिलिटी, और इसमें शायद विजिबल नहीं है. एक क्वेश्चन इसके साथ अटैच्ड हो है कि किस तरह का जीन एक्शन इस पे काम कर रहा है. आप अभी तक जान गए होंगे पिछले क्वेश्चन में देख करके कि हम लोग हेरिटेबिलिटी इन नैरो सेंस और हेरिटेबिलिटी इन ब्रॉड सेंस को कंपेयर करते हैं. अगर वैल्यू में बहुत अंतर होता है तो हम उस बेसिस पर कहते हैं कि इसका मतलब न्यूमरेटर जो हेरिटेबिलिटी इन ब्रॉड सेंस का न्यूमरेटर हेरिटेबिलिटी इन नैरो सेंस से काफ़ी बड़ा है. इसका मतलब डी और आई जो है वो इम्पॉर्टेंट है। क्यों? क्योंकि जी बराबर तो ए के साथ डी और आई ही जुड़ा हुआ है, यही दोनों तो एक्स्ट्रा है। अगर ये ज़्यादा अमाउंट में होगा तो ये और इसके बीच का डिफरेंस बहुत ज़्यादा होगा, और वो अगर सिग्निफिकेंट बहुत नेग्लिजिबल होगा तो इन दोनों की वैल्यू लगभग सेम होगी, जैसा हमारे पिछले क्वेश्चन में था। तो उस केस में वो एडिटिव जीन एक्शन का इफेक्ट था। चूँकि इसमें हेरिटेबिलिटी इन नैरो सेंस और हेरिटेबिलिटी इन ब्रॉड सेंस के बीच का इफेक्ट बहुत ज़्यादा अंतर नहीं है, इसीलिए नॉन एडिटिव जीन एक्शन हम कहेंगे कि इसमें ज़्यादा इम्पॉर्टेंट है। और एग वेट के लिए चूँकि इन दोनों के बीच का अंतर ज़्यादा नहीं है, इसलिए हम लोग क्या कहेंगे, नॉन एडिटिव जीन एक्शन ज़्यादा है। नाउ कमिंग टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, गिवन द फॉलोइंग डेटा फॉर द फ्लीस वेट counts as measured in a sample of sheep flock as tabulated below. Find the regression of offspring on mid-parent. See, I had to scan it and paste it. I'm sorry for it. I didn't type it. For those who are not able to read my handwriting, because it was pretty difficult inserting many symbols at various places, and I thought it was better to write and scan it. Anyways, coming back to the question, you see here we have to find a regression of offspring on one parent and regression of offspring on mid-parent. Now we come to the main methods. First method, that is estimation of heritability by regression method. In this only we will be dealing about both the types of regression. We already saw in the first slide, you see, yeah, that regression were of two types. The methods of estimation of heritability was of two types: regression and correlation. Regression again of two types, offspring on one parent, mid parent. Correlation, half sieve analysis and full sieve analysis. So when you talk about the regression of offspring on one parent and regression of offspring on mid parent, we will be taking them together one by one. So both the methods will be shown in this question only. You see, this has been obtained from this question. So let us see how. This is the final table obtained for calculating the regression and correlation according to the, so you can say that from this question I have actually devised these inputs. I have actually calculated these inputs for calculation of various regression and correlation. Now by this I'll try to show to you all the utility of Excel sheet as well. Escape. Now this I have already printed on, you see, on what you will do, you will take this data, parent, offspring, female parent, all the three data on the Excel sheet here. This is dam, this is sire, and this is the progeny. So you have this question with you, which I have taken from this. Nothing new, I have just taken and typed this question over here. Okay. You have just typed this question over here, right? Sorry for the pause. So you have just, I have just typed this question over here, right? This is the progeny, and this is the dam, and this is the sire. So to show to you all what I do, I delete it and I successively delete all the values. This is the question, and you have to find the heritability by regression method of offspring on one parent and mid parent. So this is the dam, this is the sire. You can take this as average of both D and sire. You can calculate it as equal to C4. This is how we work on Excel sheet, plus D4. I'm just calculating the average of the two parents upon 2. Dragging it, you will get similarly all the values. Now to find the sum, this X is the average of D and S. That is D plus S upon 2. Right? This is X is D plus S upon, X is equal to D plus S upon 2. Now give me just 1 minute. I'm closing the door to avoid a bit of disturbance. Yeah, coming back to my question, here you have calculated the average of two sires and dam. Dam data for dam and data for sire. You have a data of fleece production, that is raw wool yield in sheep for dam, for sire, for progeny, and you have to calculate the heritability of fleece yield in the sheep in that flock at that time in the given herd. Okay, fine. Now to calculate the sum, this is how we calculate the is some problem. Let us see. Y progeny delete equal to SUM. Hope it takes it. No issues. Okay, fine. So we already have data up till here. Now let me tell you, as you can see, the formula for correlation and regression is the first slide, second slide, where we had discussed about the regression and correlation. Regression, bxy and byx. Suppose y is the progeny and x is the mean of the sire. First, calculating regression of progeny by mid-parent method. First one, progeny by mid-parent. Regression of progeny by mid-parent method means that I have to find the regression of y on this x, mid-parent. Average of two parent is the mid-parent value. So we have to find the regression of progeny on mid-parent to find the heritability. And you know, as you can see, the formula is, byx is equal to summation xy minus summation x into summation y upon n whole upon summation x square minus summation x square upon n. So it means you want these many values, summation xy, summation x square, summation x square, summation x, summation y, right? Let us try to find these values. You already have x. This is summation x, so this is summation d, this is summation s, so this is summation y. Now you need summation xy. What you do for summation xy? You have to multiply column B with column E, equal to column B, B4, it is the first value, into E4, enter. Now once you get plus sign, putting your cursor at the corner, you drag it like this before sum, otherwise it will be wrong. Up till here, see, this was the thing which I did my mistake while calculating these values yesterday, and I was in a panic. Oh, why is this giving an erroneous result in regression? Then I realized, why am I multiplying these two sums? I have to add this to get summation xy, not to multiply this. It will be huge. The value will be different, totally different. It will be wrong. So here you have what? Um, and then, right. So here you get summation xy. Now what you need? Summation x, summation y, summation xy. Then for byx you need x square, summation x square. So you have to find this x square. Please don't read it as x2, it is x square. I don't have an option, although, or maybe I don't know how to make it x square. Control shift plus I tried but didn't get it. So doesn't matter. This is x square. Now I have to find x square, means I have to multiply this column with itself. 10.95 into 10.95, 8.6 into 8.6. So what I do, equal to, what is the first value? B4. B4 into 4 and just drag it down just before the sum. SUM. Fine. This is x square, summation x square. So because this column consists of these, this row has all the sums in it. You have this summation x square, summation xy, summation y, summation s, summation d, and summation x. Now for regression of offspring by mid-parent value, you already have all the values. What will you calculate? You see, I have already done it. This is the table I got it, and this is how I got it. You see, I have already multiplied it for second also. Now the first one, regression of offspring on mid-parent. We know that summation byx is equal to summation xy minus summation into x into summation y upon n whole upon summation x square minus summation x square upon n. You have to just go into the formula of regression coefficients again in biostatistics if you have any doubt. I have already discussed a bit in the beginning. Now coming back to my Excel sheet where I have found out all the input. First of all, summation xy 533.84 minus summation x into summation y. So you have 533.84 minus 72.5 into 49.4. 533.84 minus 72.5 into 49.4 upon n. N is 7. Total number of value is 7. Now in the denominator we have summation x square minus summation x square upon n. So summation x square minus summation x square upon n. I again jump to my Excel sheet to find summation x square. This is 834.07 minus summation x square 72.5 square upon 7. 834.07 minus 72.5 square upon n. Okay, so this is the value you are getting. I have substituted all the values from my Excel sheet and I obtained it. If you do not want to calculate it on Excel sheet, doesn't matter, just do the calculation manually or by calculator as you wish. You just need to have these values, right? मतलब अगर आप एक्सेल शीट पे इसको कैलकुलेट नहीं करना चाहते हैं, आप उसको मैनुअली कैलकुलेट कीजिए या कैलकुलेटर से, बस आपके पास ये वैल्यूज़ होनी चाहिए जो आपको रिक्वायर्ड है इस फॉर्मूला के लिए. आप उसको पुट कीजिए और आप ये वैल्यू ऑब्टेन कीजिए. तो ये रहा आपका समेशन, ये रहा आपका बी वाई एक्स. इट इज़ द रिग्रेशन ऑफ वाई ऑफस्प्रिंग ऑन एक्स, दैट इज मिड पेरेंट वैल्यू. आपको बता दें कि जो रिग्रेशन के का साथ हेरिटेबिलिटी का रिलेशन है, the heritability is given by in case of mid parent. P bar is the mid parent, offspring on mid parent. Heritability is equal to regression of offspring on mid parent, and you have got it as 0.27. So this is the heritability. Now coming to the second method, regression of offspring on one parent. That is, so suppose you are calculating it on dam. You can also calculate it on sire. So regression of, suppose you get in a question, find the regression of offspring on one parent, regression of offspring on dam or regression of offspring on sire. The data is given below. आपको ऐसा question आ सकता है. In that case, what will you do? You have to again find the regression of offspring on. Now this is the formula for regression of offspring on dam. Y is offspring and D is dam. Summation yd minus summation y into summation d upon n whole upon summation d square minus summation d ka square upon n. So you can see you need to have summation yd, summation y, summation d. Summation d square, summation d ka square upon n. So jumping back to the Excel sheet, we have to add these two values. Yeah, here. You get yd d square. What is this yd? Yd is the product of y column and d column. So it is equal to y column. Where does it start? D starts at fourth value and y also starts at fourth value. E and fourth value. No, y starts at y. This is the y column. E fourth value is equal to E4. This is the sign of into in Excel, star into D. C4. 87.2. Dragging it just before sum. Please don't drag it in this column. You will again have an erroneous result because this last one will give you the product of the sum of this D and Y, which you do not want. You have to sum it directly. आपको इस column का sum चाहिए, which is equal to SUM. Drag it for getting the required sum and you get it as the summation YD. Now you have to find D square, means you have to multiply D with D, means C4. Now find the sum. Here do we go, right? So this is the complete table which I have already substituted here now. So I have, in nutshell, I would like to say that now I have the raw material for calculating the regression of offspring y on dam, that is BYD, regression coefficient of offspring on dam, to get the heritability by that method. So again switching it to here from current slide, see, as you can see, regression of offspring on one parent, that is on dam, can be finding out by calculating regression of D on Y, that is BYD. Regression is summation yd minus summation y into summation d upon n whole upon summation d square minus summation d ka square. Please read it as a square. I just said that on PP PowerPoint, after inserting the formula, it is damn difficult to put these squares and things, which is equal to BYD. I have put the values straight from my Excel sheet. Summation YD as 527.04. Again, for the reference, see, I have already copy pasted 527.04 summation YD minus summation Y into summation D. What is summation Y? 49.4. Summation D 71.6. Okay, upon 7 whole upon summation D square. 71 point summation D square. 818.5 minus summation D ka square. 818.5 minus 71.6 into 71.6. Let's see if the value is substituted properly. 818.5 minus 71.6 into 71.6 upon n is equal to 7. The total number of paired data are 7 in this case. So we have to, don't do it 14, don't do it 21. It is just 7 paired data. Okay? Means a total of data of 7 sires, 7 dams and 7 progenies were taken in this case. Now this you get the value as 0.26. The regression in this method is why this, because in case of regression of offspring on mid parent, h square is 2 times the offspring regression of heritability is equal to regression of offspring by mid parent value, and heritability is twice the regression of offspring by one parent. So by this method, if you go to calculate this, heritability will be equal to 0.252. Regression by this method is different than that of the other method, as the covariances are different in the two methods. Now, so we have already got the heritability of mid parent value and one parent value. You have already seen this. There is another question. If you want, you can try it. Given below is the data for the daily milk yield of 10 dams and their daughters. Calculate the regression of daughter on dam. Find the heritability by both the correlation and regression method. Why explained? So here I put a fault. You can calculate the heritability by regression method. Next we will study this about the heritability by correlation method. Similarly, here is a question about regression of offspring on mid parent. At least you can try both the heritability questions yourself. Following data pertaining to fleece weight were measured in a sample from a sheep flock. The data listed below are fleece weight of a parent, average of both the parent and their offspring. Find the regression of offspring on mid parent. Estimate heritability of fleece weight from the small sample. So you can find the heritability. Now moving to the next segment for calculation of heritability by correlation methods. You know there are two correlation methods as well as there were regression methods. So correlation method is of two types for calculation of heritability: full SIB correlation method and has half SIB correlation method. For knowing about the correlation methods, let me tell you one thing. Remember the ANOVA, analysis of variance. This analysis of variance you have already studied in measures of dispersion, I guess, in test of significance in test of significance in biostatistics, whereby you knew that the definition of analysis of variance was that it is defined as the division of total variance into its component based on the causes associated with it. So this, both the methods of half SIB and full SIB will be based on ANOVA. Now, so if you have any doubt, just do see the ANOVA. But friends, I do promise to you on the request of one of my students that very soon I am going to upload a lecture, if possible, on test of significance, including the ANOVA as well separately, not in relation to heritability. So question is, 30 dairy sires were each mated to 5 dams and each mating produced one daughter. Fine. So one daughter was produced from one mating. How many mating were there? 30 dairy sires were each mated to 5 dams. So there was a total of 150 mating and one daughter was produced in each mating. So a total of 150 daughters were produced. The dairy milk yield of daughters was recorded. The sum of squares obtained from the analysis of variance conducted on the milk yield record are given below. Very good. You actually have this calculations done up to half of a stage. Otherwise you had to calculate sum of squares between sire, within sire, sum of squares for putting it in the ANOVA. So it's been done up to that stage. Calculate the phenotypic variance, additive genetic variance and heritability of the milk yield. Calculate the intra-class correlation and show that h square is equal to 40. Now coming to this, let S is equal to the number of sires, it is equal to 30. Given in the question, 30 sires were mated to 5 dam each. K is equal to the number of daughters per sire, and you see it is 5. N is equal to total number of daughters is equal to 150. The completed ANOVA. Now source of variation between sire, within sire. Degree of freedom S minus 1 and N minus S. Sum of squares, you already have this value given. How this came? You know, whenever we compute the ANOVA, this is the complete analysis of variance table, ANOVA table required in case of half-SIF and half-SIB analysis, where you will have under source of variation between SIR component, within SIR component and total. You know this within SIR is the error component. Similarly, in degree of freedom, you will have this S minus 1 and this total will be N minus 1. So this will be N minus S. In the sum of squares, you have two components which you have already been given. Mean sum of squares is 1830 upon 29 for SIR. Mean sum of a square is 4800 upon 120. How you know? From ANOVA chapter that mean sum of a square for SIR for any component in case of ANOVA is actually equal to sum of squares divided by the degree of freedom. And the last is the composition of mean squares. This is actually known that sigma square W plus K sigma square S is the covariance component for between SIR, and sigma square W is the variance component for between SIR, and this is the variance component for within SIR. Now let me tell you, if I calculate that this by this ANOVA, that means sum of a square for between SIR is 1830 upon 29, and we know that sigma square W plus K sigma square S is the mean sum of a square. It means this and this are equal. By using this relationship only, we find out sigma square W, sigma square S, and then finally the heritability. Let us see how. From ANOVA, within SIR component, sigma square W is equal to 40C. I say that this and this are equal. It means 4800 upon 120 is equal to sigma square W. They both are mean sum of a square. This by empirical formula, this by calculating. So 4800 upon 120 is equal to sigma square W. On solving, we have 40. Sigma square W is equal to 40. And by the second equation, you see we have sigma square W plus K. Please pay attention all of you. Sigma square W plus K sigma square S is equal to 1830 upon 29. See, after solving, we have this value as 63.1. Now let me, I just want to show it to you all over here. Yeah, I should escape it. Just escaping it. K sigma square S. Where was this ANOVA? Here. You see sigma square W plus K sigma square S is equal to 1830 upon 29. One 1830 upon 20. I'm just equating these two. 1830.29. Yes, K. Which is equal to 63.1. Approximately, I have calculated it. I had already calculated it. Now you already have the value of sigma square W from this. You see, sigma square W was equal to 4800 upon 120, which gave you the value 40. 4800 divided by 120 gives you the value 40. So sigma square W is equal to 40. Substituting it over here, you can write 40 plus K. Number of daughters per SIR is 5. So K is equal to 5. K is the number of daughters per SIR into sigma square S. Which is is equal to 63.1, which means solving this equation, one variable, sigma square S is equal to 63.1 minus 40 upon 5, which is equal to roughly 23.1 upon 5, roughly, not exactly, which is equal to 4.62. So you have sigma square S is equal to 4.62, sigma square W is 40. Yes, 4.62. So as you can see, Sayer component of variance is a measure of 1/4 of additive genetic variance. This we know that sigma square S is equal to 1/4 sigma square A. So sigma square A is obviously 4 times sigma square S. So we get the value as sigma square A is equal to 4 into 4.62. We have already calculated sigma square S. So it is equal to 18.68. We know phenotypic variance sigma square P is given as Sayer component, and within Sayer sigma square S plus sigma square W. So these two are so important term in the ANOVA. Also you calculated everything on this only. Now if sigma square P is also equal to Sayer component, and within Sayer component you are adding 4.62 plus 40, which you calculated from ANOVA. So heritability H square is equal to 4 into sigma square S upon sigma square S plus sigma square W, which is equal to 0.41. Alternatively, heritability is equal to sigma square A upon sigma square P, which is equal to 18.68 upon 44.62. It is almost the same. I have substituted the value straight away of sigma square A upon sigma square P. Anyhow, if you want, you can straight away remember the formula of heritability in by half-SIB correlation is equal to 4 times sigma square S, 4 times sigma square S upon sigma square S plus sigma square W. Or if you remember it in this term, you again do the same and substitute it here. So heritability is 0.41. This is again intra-class correlation between half-SIB is calculated as ratio between Sayer component to total variance. So T is equal to H square is equal to 40. This was your last part. Prove that H square is equal to 42. How you prove it? You calculate it by both the methods, and so they are equal. Now the next is regression of offspring by correlation. Regression coefficient means heritability by regression. Heritability, see it's written wrong over here. It's actually heritability by correlation method. 60 sires when mated to 10 dam, each mating produced 1 daughter. The daily milk yield of daughters were recorded. The sum of a square obtained from the analysis of variance conducted on the milk yield record are given below. Again, you have between Sayer component given. This is, and within sires, you know, if you do the ANOVA, what you will do, first column will be source of variation, second will be degree of freedom, and then third will be the sum of a square, fourth will be mean sum of a square, whereby you divide this both by degree of freedom, and the last one will be corresponding to it we will have sigma square W, and corresponding to this we will have sigma square S plus K sigma square W, and we will equate the mean sum of a square column and that formula to find both sigma square S and sigma square W. Then we will calculate heritability as a ratio of 4 times sigma square S upon sigma square S plus sigma square W. Right? See, this is how. Let S be the number of sires. You see what is the number? 60 sires. So S is equal to 60. K is the number of daughters per sire, you know. It is equal to 10. N is the total number of daughters. You know, N is equal to K into S will be equal to 60 into 10 equal to 600. The completed ANOVA will be equal to source of variation is between sire and within sire. You know, this is the error component. So it is found out by subtracting S from total N. So if it is 59, it is 540. Now sum of squares 2880 and 5800 is already given over here. Mean sum of a square is 2880 by 59, degree of freedom. Mean sum of a square is 5800 by 540 for this. So you have the two mean sum of a squares between sire mean sum of a square, within sire mean sum of a square. 48.81 and 10.74. You know sigma square W plus K sigma square S is equal to 48.81 and sigma square W is equal to 10.74. By equating these two equations, you have two equations and two variables. K sigma square W plus K sigma square S is equal to 48.81. I repeat it once again. This was given over here. You divided it with this degree of freedom to obtain mean sum of a square. And you already know that this is the composition of mean square. Sigma square W plus K sigma square S is equal to the between side mean square. And sigma square W is the within side mean square. So you have actually two equations. First says sigma square W plus K sigma square S is equal to 48.81 and second says sigma square W is equal to 10.74. You solve two equations to get the two variables sigma square W and sigma square S. See how? First equation, just copied it from this ANOVA, this and this. First equation, sigma square W plus K sigma square S is equal to 48.81. Second equation, sigma square W is equal to 10.74. Equation 1 minus 2 gives K sigma square S is equal to 38.81, which means sigma square S is equal to 6.47. Psi component of variance is a measure of 1/4 of the additive genetic variance. We know that, we have already discussed in the last question, that sigma square S is 1/4 sigma square A. It means that here sigma square A is equal to 4 times sigma square S. I also told to you all that you can straight away calculate it as heritability is equal to 4 times sigma square S upon sigma square S plus sigma square W. So you don't need to do these many things, or else you can calculate this and then heritability as 4 into T, where T is equal to sigma square S upon sigma square S plus sigma square W. So anyhow you have to calculate H square is equal to sigma square A plus sigma square B. So if you have not been asked to calculate this T component, that is correlation coefficient, separately, just in my opinion, just straight away calculate H square equal to 4 times sigma square S upon sigma square S plus sigma square W. माने अगर आप लोगों को अलग से T कैलकुलेट करने नहीं कहा गया है, स्ट्रेट अवे इतना करने की आवश्यकता नहीं है. स्ट्रेट अवे हेरिटेबिलिटी बराबर क्या कीजिए, 4 इंटू सिग्मा स्क्वायर S अपॉन सिग्मा स्क्वायर S प्लस सिग्मा स्क्वायर W, और वैल्यू जो आपको मिली है पीछे से सिग्मा स्क्वायर S और W की, आप सब्सटीट्यूट कर दीजिए उसमें. So you get it as heritability 1.50, and intra-class correlation by half sieve is alternatively which you have first calculated this only. So you heritability, always remember H square is equal to 4T. तो या तो आप पहले T कैलकुलेट करके उसको 4 से मल्टीप्लाई करके H स्क्वायर निकालें, या आप डायरेक्ट H स्क्वायर निकालें 4 सिग्मा स्क्वायर S अपॉन सिग्मा स्क्वायर S प्लस सिग्मा स्क्वायर W, या फिर आप सिग्मा स्क्वायर A और सिग्मा स्क्वायर P निकाल के H स्क्वायर निकालें. तीनों लगभग सेम चीज़ है, बस घूम फिर के उधर से आ रही है. और दस देख लीजिए ये, सी आई वॉज टॉकिंग टू वन ऑफ माई कज़न सिस्टर सोनी while I was making this slide. Wow, so creative, and so somehow I ended up writing it. I even talked to her in the midst of it. So luckily I did not write her phone number, or maybe I would have ended up doing that also. My maternal cousin, she's. Anyways, 20 poultry sires were each. Now next question, 20 poultry sires were each mated to 5 dams and 20 offsprings were produced by each dam. This question, up till here we have discussed about heritability by half sieve correlation. Now we will be discussing about heritability by full sieve correlation. 20 poultry sires were each mated to 5 dam and 20 offsprings were produced by each dam. The trait was measured on all progeny. The ANOVA for the trait is given below. ये full sieve correlation analysis का ANOVA है. This is analysis ANOVA for full sieve correlation. As you can see, in case of full sieve, because there are two component of variation, so it is called full sieve, between sire, between dam, and it is between progeny per dam per sire. This is the error component and this is the total. So for degree of freedom of this, we will have to subtract this minus this plus this. You see, 999 minus 80 plus 19 will give you 900. Now this is sum of a square, so this is between sire sum of a square, between dam per sire sum of a square, this is between progeny per dam per sire sum of a square, and this is total. And this is mean sum of a square, which is obtained by dividing sum of a square by degree of freedoms. Now composition of mean sum of a square in this case, as in that half sieve, was sigma square W plus K sigma square. In this case we have sigma square W plus N sigma square D plus N into D into sigma square S. And for between dam and sire we have sigma square W plus N sigma square D, and for between progeny dam per sire we have sigma square W. So unlike half sieve correlation, in full sieve correlation method we have 3 equations with 3 variables. कहने का मतलब इसमें भी उसी तरह से हम लोग सॉल्व करेंगे, इसको इससे इक्वेट करेंगे, इसको इससे, इसको इससे, 3 इक्वेशंस. वी आर गोइंग टू इक्वेट दिस विद दिस, दिस विद दिस एंड दिस विद दिस. So we have finally three equations with three variables, sigma square W, sigma square D, and sigma square S. The difference is that in case of half sieve we had two equations and two variables, and this we have three equations, three variables because of one increased parameter in case of full sieve. So the question is, calculate the sire dam and sire plus dam component of variance and heritability from different components. What genetic inference about the type of gene action can be drawn from the comparison of H square obtained from sire and dam components? The source is Principal Fine of Gurvinder Singh Brar, with lot of thanks and courtesy. Now, how we start solving it? The D, number of dams mated to each sire. As you can see, number of dams mated to each sire is 20 poultry sires were each mated to 5 dam and 20 offsprings were produced. So you have a total of 20 into 5, which is equal to 100 dams. So D is equal to 100. So number of progeny per dam, which will be given by, which is actually given by number of, just give me some time. Yeah, so this is equal to number of progeny per dam. You also have this component over here, number of progeny per dam. So here it is. I'm just showing to you all by another screen. And so coming back to the solution of this problem, where were we? Yeah, we were here. So this is the answer. Number of dams mated, as you can see, number of sires, S is equal to 20. 20 poultry sires were mated to 5 dam each. So D is equal to 5, and the number of progeny per dam, small n, is equal to, as you can see, is 10. So this is equal to 20, this is 10, and this is the number of dams, which is 5. So you have 20, 10 and 5, 20S, 10N and 5D. Now n is equal to total number of progeny will be equal to n into D into S, which will be equal to 20 25 100 दहें कि 1000, that is 1000. Now heritability by sire component will be equal to 4 times sigma square S upon sigma square S plus sigma square D plus sigma square W. Remember, this is the formula for heritability by sire component in full sieve correlation, and this is the heritability by dams component for full sieve and correlation method. 4 into sigma square D upon sigma square S plus sigma square D plus sigma square W. So heritability by sire plus dam component is equal to 2 into sigma square S plus sigma square D upon sigma square S plus D plus W. So in case of full sieve analysis method heritability, you actually have 3 types of heritability. You can calculate 3 heritabilities. Now it is given here sigma square W is equal to 100. Mean sum of a square is 100. Let us cross check the values once again for it to be clearer. Okay, see, sigma square W is equal to 100. This you have already found out. So you substitute it in second equation to find sigma square D. This is how we will be finding successively all the values. We already know N, D. We have to find sigma square W, sigma square D and sigma square S. 3 equations and 3 variables. First equation is sigma square W is equal to 100. Second equation, sigma square W plus N sigma square D is equal to 150. And third equation, sigma square W plus N sigma square D plus N into D into sigma square S is equal to 350. So you solve the 3 equations to get sigma square W is equal to 100. It already given. Sigma square N into sigma square D plus sigma square W is equal to 150. From ANOVA second table you can see, halt and see. So sigma square D will be automatically equal to, by solving, 5. Because we already know that a small n is given as 10, which is equal to number of progeny per dam. Similarly, n into sigma square D plus sigma square W plus sigma n into D into sigma square S, it was the first one, equal to 350. You have already seen it in ANOVA. So sigma square S is equal to, by computing and solving it, you get it as 4. So sigma square P will be equal to sigma square D plus sigma square W plus sigma square S, which is equal to 109. So total phenotypic variance in case of full sieve analysis is dam component, within dam component and sire component, which is equal to 109. So heritability by sire component, you have already seen the formula, 4 times sigma square S upon sigma square D plus W plus S, that is 0.146. I have just substituted the formula. Similarly, heritability by dam component will be equal to 4 times sigma square D upon sigma square d plus w plus s, which is 0.18, and heritability by Sire and Dan component, substitute s and d value and you get it 0.17. Now you got the three types of heritabilities in case of full sieve analysis. So just now we discussed the four methods: heritability by regression, heritability by correlation method, full sieve regression of offspring on mid parent, regression of offspring of one parent, full sieve correlation, half sieve correlation method. Now coming to the repeatability, why do I discuss this repeatability over here? If you all remember this repeatability is used in case of repeated traits. Suppose we are measuring any repeated trait, in that case we actually go for repeatability. Say suppose in case of a cattle having more than one lactation, we find repeatability. Say suppose in case of sheep with fleece yield, we actually talk about repeatability. मतलब इन हिंदी आई स्विच फॉर वाइल, रिपीटेबिलिटी के बारे में हम लोग तभी बात करते हैं, ऐसे ट्रेट में ही बात करते हैं जो उसके लाइफ टाइम में रिपीटेड होता है उस एनिमल के। जैसे कि मान लीजिए कि वही लैक्टेशन, अगर 5-6 लैक्टेशन की बात करते हैं तो वो लैक्टेशंस में कितनी सिमिलैरिटी है लैक्टेशन यील्ड में, उसको रिपीटेबिलिटी बोलते हैं। सो इट इज़ द टेंडेंसी फॉर द रिपीट ट्रेट्स टू शो सिमिलर मेजर्स, repeated traits. It means it is the linear association between the repeated traits for the same animal. Means that how good a good producer remains till the end and how bad a bad producer remains till the end. Means that how is the consistency or persistency maintained. Means that how much is the first and the last repeated measurement similar to each other. यानी कि अगर हम कहते हैं 5 लैक्टेशन ईल्ड है तो पहले दूसरे तीसरे चौथे और 5वां लैक्टेशन ईल्ड जो उस एनिमल का है वो कितना मिलता जुलता है, उतना रिपीटेबिलिटी हाई होगा। अगर मान लीजिए किसी में पहला और दूसरे में वो बहुत ही अच्छा ईल्ड रहा है, उसके बाद अचानक उसकी मिल्क ईल्ड बहुत ड्रॉप हो जाती है, तो मतलब वो मैग्नीट्यूड डिफर करेगा मिल्क ईल्ड का उसके चारों लैक्टेशंस में, इसका मतलब रिपीटेबिलिटी लो है। और इसी बेसिस पे हम लोग रिपीटेबिलिटी को कैलकुलेट करते हैं। रिपीटेबिलिटी, व्हाई इज रिपीटेबिलिटी इंपॉर्टेंट? Repeatability is the upper limit of heritability. You see, heritability was equal to sigma square g, you read it at square, upon sigma square g plus sigma square ep plus sigma square et, that is sigma square p. So heritability was equal to sigma square g upon sigma square p. You must be remembering it. And repeatability is just a small component added, sigma square ep, to the numerator, which is really very small in magnitude, permanent environment. When you divide the environment into two parts, I have already discussed in my first lecture. So because repeatability is the upper limit to heritability, you can also take repeatability value if you do not have directly heritability value. They both will be similar to each other. Now second thing is that as heritability help to predict us the type of gene action, so does repeatability also. Means that in case of additive gene action, repeatability is high. In case of traits with non-additive gene action, repeatability will be low. So what is the application of repeatability? Repeatability, other than being the upper limit of heritability, this repeatability helps us to decide whether to select or cull an animal on the basis of a small number of records. अगर उस एनिमल के उस ट्रेट की रिपीटेबिलिटी हाई है तो उसको हम लोग 2-3 रिकॉर्ड के बेसिस पे कल कर सकते हैं। अगर रिपीटेबिलिटी लो है तो हम लोगों को ज़्यादा नंबर ऑफ रिकॉर्ड्स तक रुक करके ही हम लोग उसको सिलेक्ट या कल कर सकते हैं, बिकॉज वी कैन नॉट ट्रस्ट that if repeatability is high, we can trust it on the basis of small number of records as well. Now repeatability versus heritability, I have already discussed, formula has been shown here. There is one term called as mean production producing ability. This repeatability has a special relevance in finding out the mean production producing ability. Now let me tell you all this, most producer production, most probable, what am I telling? So maybe the lecture is so long that I am my mind is diverted. Most probable producing ability, it is equal to repeatability of a trait is used to predict this most probable producing ability, which is the future performance of an animal in the herd during his or her lifetime. This is actually the expected producing ability. So we also calculate MPPA on the basis of repeatability. So these are the applications of repeatability, which includes most probable producing ability. Means that, say suppose I don't want to wait for 6 lactation yield and I want to know what exactly will be the 6 lactation yield approximately, or the producing ability of that animal at that stage, we can predict it with the help of repeatability. Now this repeatability is also calculated like heritability by calculating its various components, or it can also be calculated by correlation, regression, or by the ANOVA method. Let's just see how. Say suppose there is a question, total genetic variance of a protein yield in 305 days is 1500 kg. The environmental variance is 5000 kg square. The variances due to the dominance and epistatic genetic effect are 25 and 25 kgs respectively. Similar question, right? Which we discussed just now. Permanent environmental variation is 1800 kg square. Calculate the heritability in narrow and broad sense. Calculate the repeatability, which is important. We have already discussed heritability in broad and narrow sense, so I leave it on to you. Now, repeatability, or calculate the relative contribution percentage of different component of variance of total phenotypic variance. You see what is the information given over here? Sigma square G 1500, sigma square E 5000, sigma square D 25, sigma square E 25, and sigma square EP 1800. You have all the raw materials required. We know that repeatability is equal to sigma square G plus sigma square EP upon sigma square P, and sigma square P will be equal to sigma square G plus sigma square E, which will be equal to 1500 plus 500, which will be equal to, I don't know, there is some, see, let me check it, sigma square G 1500 and sigma square, where is this sigma square E 5000. So you have this value as 1500 plus, sorry, 10 is missing. You see, it will be equal to 1500 plus 5000, it will be equal to 6500 kg square. So you already have the value, you have calculated the value of sigma square P, sigma 6500 kg square. You know this relationship between the two. You already know the value of sigma square G and sigma square EP. So you straight away go for calculating repeatability as 1500 plus 1800 upon 6500. Now we have to find in this question, find the relative contribution of different component variance of the total phenotypic variance. You see, relative, you know, it was given that sigma square G was 1500 and sigma square P was 6500. You just convert it as percentage, 1500 upon 6500 into 100. You already have given here that sigma square E was 5000. So you say 5000 upon 6500 into 100. Now this you have given 1450 additive genetic variance sigma square A and total sigma square P 6500 into 100. You get additive component of additive genetic variance. Now the non-additive genetic variance will be equal to 50 upon 6500 into 100. Permanent environmental variance, similarly you already have given sigma square EP is 1800. What we have to do to find the relative contribution? It is expressed as a fraction of 6500 total phenotypic variance and expressed as percentage into 100. Now this is up till here it is of the calculation of repeatability. Now another method for calculation of repeatability, it is intra-class correlation, which is the product moment correlation. In case of two records of each animal, repeatability is estimated as product moment correlation. Say suppose let X and Y be represent the first and second performance record respectively, then RXY is an estimate of repeatability. मान लीजिए हमारे पास लैक्टेशन यील्ड फर्स्ट और सेकेंड लैक्टेशन यील्ड का रिकॉर्ड दिया हुआ है, फर्स्ट और सेकेंड लैक्टेशन यील्ड रेस्पेक्टिवली इतना एंड इतना, फाइंड द रिपीटेबिलिटी. आप स्ट्रेट अवे RXY कोरिलेशन कोफिशिएंट निकाल दीजिए उस लैक्टेशन यील्ड का. आपने ऑलरेडी कोरिलेशन कोफिशिएंट अभी हेरिटेबिलिटी के लिए निकाला है, आपने ऑलरेडी उसको बायोस्टैटिस्टिक्स में भी पढ़ा हुआ है. रिपीटेबिलिटी कैन ऑल्सो बी ऑब्टेन एज रिग्रेशन ऑफ द सेकेंड रिकॉर्ड ऑन फर्स्ट वन. और ये दोनों कितना सिमिलर होगा वो डिपेंड करेगा कोवेरियंसेस पे. Suppose you have this question, given below is the data for number of pig born per sow, litter size in each of the two consecutive litters of farrowing. A highly prolific breed of swines are listed below. पहले का litter size ये है, दूसरे का litter size ये है. Calculate the repeatability of litter size from the correlation between first and second records and from the regression of second and first litter size. Why does the repeatability of the litter size differ by the two method? It means that the covariances, इसका आप स्ट्रेट में आंसर कर सकते हैं. अगर repeatability अलग होगा वो तब होगा जबकि covariances दोनों मेथड में अलग हैं. अब इसको देखते हैं हम लोग कैसे सॉल्व कर सकते हैं. ये हमारा डेटा है. कहने का मतलब एक पिग में फैरोइंग का पहला बार में जो लिटर साइज उसको मिला है, पहले पिग का, पिग नंबर 1 का, साउ नंबर ID 1 का 8 था, वही दूसरे में उसने 9 लिटर साइज उसका था, माने एक बार में उसने 9 पिगलेट्स वेर बॉर्न टू इट. Similarly, second sow ID 2 had litter size of 6 in first farrowing and 10 in second farrowing, 7 in first, 11 in second, 8 in first, 8 in second, 6 in first and 6 in second. So you have this data, litter size of first, litter size of second. Now find out the repeatability. repeatability by correlation method हम लोग कैसे निकालेंगे? How will we find out? If we say x as the letter size in first farrowing and y as the letter size in second farrowing, we will similarly calculate this summation x, summation y, summation x square, summation y square, summation xy, which I leave on to my students to calculate. They can already do, they have already done it on Excel sheet when they were calculating it for heritability, and then they can straight away substitute the value to find rxy, and similarly byx can also be found out by regression of y on x. I'll be dealing with the answer to it if you are not able to solve it based on the feedback of my students in my next lecture. I repeat it again. This is the data for first letter size of first farrowing. This is the data for letter size of second farrowing. This is x square. We will find x square by squaring the first one. We will find y square, the square by second. My cross multiplication of x and y will give us the xy column. If we go on adding it, we will get this summation x, summation y, summation x square, summation y square, summation xy. And you substitute the value. This will give you the repeatability by correlation method. This will give you the repeatability of regression method. Now, when the number of records per animal are more than 2, the calculation of repeatability by prograde movement correlation becomes cumbersome, because in case of more than 2 values, how many pairs will you have for correlation or regression? So that way repeatability will be tough. So in that case, we again calculate repeatability by intra-class correlation between repeated records using analysis of variance technique, ANOVA. Repeatability is expressed as sigma square b upon sigma square p. Do you remember? The same ANOVA concept will be applied over here as you did it in half-SIB correlation method for calculation of heritability. The only difference is that here we will have two components between variance and between, sigma square b and sigma square w. In that we had sigma square s and sigma square w. And repeatability r will be given as sigma square b upon sigma square b plus sigma square w. Because sigma square p is equal to sigma square g plus sigma square ep, and sigma square b plus sigma square w is equal to sigma square p, which is actually sigma square g plus sigma square ep plus sigma square et. The analysis of variance table for partitioning the observed variation into between animal and within animal component. Now, in case of calculation of repeatability, as we have seen just now, this is a table from Animal Breeding by Gurvinder Singh Brasser with courtesy and thanks. Now, as we can see, formula for repeatability R is sigma square b upon sigma square p. Partitioned into the component, we have this final formula, and this will be the ANOVA between animal, within animal, where L will be the number of animals, K is the number of repeated records per animal. So in case of pig, you took 2 records, so K will be 2. L number of animals, in that we had total of 5 sow. So you will have a total of, in this case, L will be equal to 5, K will be equal to 2. And this is within animal records. N is the total number of records in the group, which is equal to K into L, which will be equal to 5 into 2, that is 10. Sum of a squares, SSB, as a sum of a square for the between component and within component. You already have given sum of a square between component in this question, you see. So this is why another means you will be calculating it, now this question I'll definitely be dealing in my next lecture, the calculation of repeatability using ANOVA. So don't worry, because this lecture is becoming too lengthy, I need to wind it up, and then in my next lecture I'll definitely deal with the calculation of repeatability by this ANOVA and the genetic correlation. So stay tuned. Do keep watching my lectures, and friends, I really labor hard in making these slides and putting the lecture for the benefit of my students fraternity all across the globe. So I do request you all to put a like and subscribe, and do watch it continuously so that you are able to understand it. As you can see, this will be the composition. In that case, we will be equating this with this and this with this, and by 2 equations, 2 variables, similar to what we did in heritability, we will be finding sigma square b, sigma square w, and then we will be finding the repeatability. This last one, repeatability by this ANOVA, that is this sigma square b and sigma square w method, first and second genetic correlations of these two things, that is the last part of genetic parameter. We will have genetic parameter lecture 3 uploaded soon. So until then, stay tuned and do like my video. Thank you. I invite your feedbacks. Thank you very much.